Copernicus, a chamber opera written by Montreal-born composer Claude Vivier, is unlike any opera that has ever been written, so a Canadian opera is happening. That's why I knew I was going to go. Anyways, Vivier was murdered in France in 1983, and he's widely considered one of the best Canadian composers of all time.
Now he's decomposing.
Hey everybody, welcome to Bad Composers.
Hey.
Welcome to Decomposers, episode 1.
Are we rebranding? Great.
Welcome to Bad Conductors. This is unofficially episode 5. Or officially episode 5, but episode 4 nobody's going to hear until we feel confident in ourselves enough to let everybody else hear that.
Yeah, it's going to be in the special year 1 anniversary edition.
Yep.
Or there will just be a clip of it right now.
I'm not doing that editing.
Can we get
Hey, you're editing this week.
Yeah, you're on editing this week.
Could.
So you could.
Can we get this all on vinyl?
Yeah, sure.
Does it really capture the tone of Wilson's voice?
33 sides. Have fun flipping.
2 minutes each side.
Great. Okay, cool. So welcome to all
It's
the
all on
listeners
45s.
8-track.
All right. Well, welcome back, everybody, after unofficially a week's hiatus. Officially a week's hiatus. I don't know. I am Hot Chris Carnduff. Sitting on my left this week is...
Brayden. Oh, he's on your left. I'm not. Okay.
Yeah,
yes,
you're the
on
one
your
on the
left
right
is
this time.
Sweet Milky Wilson.
That's me.
And then
Sure.
on my right is...
What's the nickname this week?
Champion Forger.
Champion Forger.
All right. I've been working on my smithing skills, guys.
You won a championship. I mean, come on.
All those years on RuneScape are paying off.
All right, rundown. What's everybody going to be talking about this week?
Shows. Gonna catch up. Gonna go over the ones I went over last week that didn't come out, and also ones I didn't talk about.
Mm-hmm.
There's 4 of them, so.
Chris?
I'm going to be talking about a show I saw on Friday.
Was it a positive experience, Chris? What can we look forward to in this episode?
Well, you're going to have to stay tuned and find out.
Ooh, the suspense. It's killing me. And I will be discussing the merits of modern-day songwriting in commercial radio. And I see Chris cringe.
It just sounds so odd how
It
you said
sounds
that.
so odd. It does
I'm going to
sound
be
odd.
discussing the merits of modern-day songwriting and radio.
Well,
You know, actually, now that I say that sentence out loud, it makes a whole lot more sense. What I had in my head was a bunch of people sitting around during a radio broadcast and, like, writing
songs.
music.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's not what I'm talking about.
Listen in on our writing session.
What rhymes with tuna, guys? I got nothing. Can I rhyme pills with pills? Fergie did it.
Hey, rhyme masses with masses.
Yeah.
Whoa. We're talking about crowds and then the density of material.
Ask Ozzy Osbourne.
Speaking of which, why can't photons be Catholic?
Why can't photons be Catholic?
They don't have mass.
Chris liked that one.
I'm
He liked it a lot.
Anyways. So, yeah, who would like to start us off today?
Rock, paper, scissors.
Lizard Spock. Okay. On shoot or on scissors?
Nobody knows that we went over this last week, but we know.
Okay. Rock, paper, scissors.
3 scissors.
So on Friday, I went to a show. I've been plugging this show for weeks. The Slick 68s were playing at Barlow Trail and 61st Avenue in the southeast, which, for anybody who knows what that address is, it's a Tim Hortons and a Staples and some Vietnamese place and just a giant parking lot.
That Vietnamese place is good.
Is it?
Yeah.
I don't like Vietnamese food.
I should
so.
collaborate with the Timmies.
All right, so I've been plugging this show forever, and I was really excited for it. I was really excited to see if this band could make this show a thing. The reason why was because it was an all ages show. Because it was in the middle of a parking lot. So it would allow anybody to go see it. And I thought that was a really, really smart thing to try to get some kind of a scene going. I thought it was really innovative. So what happened was on Friday, I went and I played some music with a few people. And then I left and went to the show. When I got there, I parked and it was really great. There was like 200 people at the parking lot. There were some really, 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 really cool cars out, which was always a good thing for Barlow. And sure enough, at the back corner beside the Vietnamese place, there was a trailer, so a flat trailer deck, and I forget what truck it was. It looked like it was a 60s, early 70s Chev. And these guys had all of their gear plugged in to a generator that was out of the back of a truck, another truck kind of farther away. So it wouldn't have a whole bunch of sound that would ruin the sound.
I know where this is going, but yeah, it's going. Cool. Nice.
And, you know, the musicians were all, you know, warming up and everything behind the stage, and everything was set up. So at about, I want to say 10 o'clock, they went on, and I was really, really, really excited. And I wish I could tell you a really, really in-depth and, you know, passionate review of how these guys played and what it sounded like. And I'd be able to tell you how the intervals all worked together and how everything was going so good and this, that, and the other thing. And I'd be able to really comment on the composition. I can't, because the sound guy was literally the worst sound guy I've ever experienced. Ever. I mean it. Like,
Oh no.
everybody on the other end of this will probably be thinking, oh, you know, it was bad. I'm using literally.
Is this like the Ron Swanson thing where he walks into the restaurant and he's like, I want all your bacon and eggs. And by all your bacon and eggs, I mean all your bacon and like that bad?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Properly the single worst sound management I've ever experienced.
Wow.
It was terrible. Like, we talked about the Blind Beggar a few weeks ago and how you had to just get the sound guy on your side and you were good to go. And if he wasn't on your side, then it was not going to sound great, but, you know, it wasn't going to sound great. The Blind Beggar guy of old, if he came to this show and didn't give a rat's ass about this band and didn't even pay attention to them, even during sound check, it would have been better. Because I'm pretty sure they didn't do a sound check. This sound guy ran every single mic hot. All of them. He had both the guitars mic'd, nothing DI'd. He was running the 2 vocal mics. I think he only mixed one. And I'm pretty sure it wasn't the one that was being used all the time. He had the drums mic'd, which, okay, you know, it's an outdoor show. But he was running everything hot.
Yep.
Every time the lead singer got up to sing a high note, which, you know, kudos to the lead singer, he could actually hit those high notes. It would feed back throughout the entire system. Every time that the second guitarist would go and switch on his effects, it would feed back throughout the entire system. It was god-awful. It was terrible. It was, oh my God, it was bad.
Not the band's fault at all.
No.
Yeah,
No.
okay.
I mean, I guess it's, you know, if you wanted to blame the band, you could say that they didn't
Should've
hire
got a
a
better
hound.
sound guy, yeah.
Yeah. And God, it was so bad. The only thing that sounded good, and I'll give the sound guy this, is that he mixed the bass well. The bass guitar sounded good.
I'll bet you $5 he was a bass player.
The guy got up afterwards and started playing bass and immediately took the bassist bass and put the strap down to the farthest setting.
Oof.
And held his bass down at his knees and just started jamming on stage. By that time, they had been playing for like 3 hours and nobody was there. And I mean, nobody was there because it was so bad.
Yeah.
The pinnacle of the show for me, because or should I say the valley, the lowest point of the show. Which
That's
is,
the opposite of the pinnacle, Chris.
well, I mean,
The pinnacle of badness.
Yeah, I guess if you're like watching The Room, the pinnacle of the movie is like you're tearing me apart.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. See, that's a great
So,
analogy.
yeah.
I understand. Let's go on.
yeah. Or, Hi Doggy.
Yeah.
That might
Well,
be it.
there's many moments in The Room that qualify as horrible, which is exactly what you want when you're watching The Room.
Towards the end of the first set, he was running everything so hot. By this point in the first set, the stage right speaker, like the stage right main, was totally silent. It wouldn't work anymore. It just refused to be a part of what was happening. Which, I mean,
I'm on strike.
kudos to that speaker, for that very short moment of self-awareness
It's like, I'm going to die if I'm part of this.
at the very end, or towards the end of the set. Every time that the drummer hit the kick drum and the snare drum at the same time, it sent the worst sound I've ever heard in my entire life through the mains. It wasn't just feedback. Feedback implies kind of, I think that word's a nice word, feedback. You get feedback. Like, oh yeah, I got some feedback, so I knew how to be better. This felt like somebody was punching you in the gut and screaming in your ear at exactly the same time. And it wasn't just like somebody punching you in the gut. Like, think about the strongest person you know just getting super drunk and then putting a fist of their right hand and just shoving it into your diaphragm
Sounds like a nice time.
while screaming in your ear.
Sounds like a beautiful time. There's some people that would pay for that kind of stuff.
I was there just to review the show. I like Barlow. I go there all the time, but that night I was there just to review the show. I had a buddy he was having a birthday party that night, so I was going to go to that, but because the show had been delayed for 2 weeks, I had to fit it into my schedule because I was going to see this thing. I was going to review it. The sound was so bad that I walked away.
Yeah.
I turned around and I walked away from it. And as I was walking away to the Tim Hortons to get a coffee, because I was thinking, maybe they'll finish by the time I get back because the sound is so bad. As I was walking to the Tim Hortons, there was a big block 454 in, I think, a Chevelle. It was revving up. It didn't have any mufflers, and it was really loud, and it was great. There was a guy doing a burnout down another parking lot aisle at the same time, and there was a guy with a minivan. He's there every week, pounding, just blasting electronic tunes out of the back of his minivan. I couldn't hear the band anymore play, but I could hear the guy punching me in the stomach and screaming in my ear over those three things.
I love being a drummer.
I went to the Tim Hortons. I waited in line in the Tim Hortons. I moved one person up in line. I was there for like 20 minutes, and eventually I heard that the cracking wasn't happening anymore. So I thought, okay, I'll walk back. So I did. At which point I told the guitarist that he should do a sound check immediately because it was the worst sound I've ever heard.
Yeah.
So I think they did. They played the second set. 2 songs in the second set, everything was okay. Like it wasn't good, but it wasn't bad.
It was manageable.
Yeah. And then the sound guy walked over to the soundboard and touched it, and then it was all back, and it was all terrible again. I don't know if the band was any good. I know that the bassist had a lot of potential, because I could see how his fingers moved, and the bass I could hear the bass. That was the only thing I could hear. So I know the bassist was okay, and he had a lot of potential. From how I saw the second guitarist's fingers moved, I think that he was okay. He was always sticking within the chord. I mean, it's a good thing I know my theory. Am I right?
Mm-hmm.
And the lead guitarist, same thing. Like he was always where he should have been. Holy hell if I know how this band sounded.
Do they have any online presence for us to look at?
Nope. No, they're a new band. They've been around for 6 months.
Okay.
So they're really fresh.
Okay.
From what I could tell, they were sticking to mostly 1 and 4 as far as their theory is concerned.
12 bar.
Sometimes, mostly just sticking to 1 and 4. Not really throwing in the dominant all that often. just the
It's-
subdominant.
Too exotic.
And when they did, use the 5, it was proper. It sounded good. It's hard to use the dominant wrong though. So, or sounded good. I don't know if I can say that. It looked good. Yeah. When they used the 5, it looked good. When they used,
It
The
looked like it
four.
should have been used there.
yeah,
You could imagine, like, okay, yeah, all right, if I can hear that,
I could hear it in my head,
yeah, okay.
and it sounded like rock and roll. It sounded like
Good.
down to earth rock and roll. It sounded like AC/DC, their first album.
Yeah.
If you took all the dominance out of it.
More simple than AC/DC. Wow.
So Gregorian chant.
Gregorian chant's really, really complicated. Thank you very
What was
much.
it? Not Gregorian chant.
It's
Plain
not
chant.
really. It's just in modes.
Yeah. When was the last time you looked at a Josquin score of
At least this morning.
Ave Maria? That is.
That's not Gregorian chant, Chris.
It's plain chant. Okay. Okay. Fair. You got me. I'm a few too many 100 years ahead of where you are right now. It's not Gregorian chant, but it is plain chant.
Yes. I'll give you that.
Tune in next week for more thrilling debates.
For this music history
this
course.
music history course. Are we going to be on like the iTunes University?
There's a university for iTunes.
There is. You can learn You can random lectures on
Do they also charge $100,000 a year?
100,000 Zimbabwean dollars a year. Yes.
Wow,
So like
that's a bargain.
$9.99 a month.
100,000 Zimbabwe dollars is $9.99.
It's actually less.
Yeah.
100,000 Zimbabwe dollars is maybe 1 penny.
Now that's what I can get behind.
Hey, probably can. Yeah.
The penny?
It's very small. You're not going to be hiding.
You heard
behind
it here,
very well.
folks. Chris Carnduff loves the penny.
Oh.
Bring it back.
Canada 151. Bring back the penny.
No. Don't twist my words.
Much too late for that. Ah.
Anyway, I hope that this band is good. I want to hear them for the first time sometime.
Mm-hmm. When will they be playing next? Have we any news on this?
They are currently in writing right now.
Okay.
I know they played some covers
Okay.
because sometimes you could actually hear what the guy was saying when the music was stopped and he would speak. So I know they played some covers and that was all right.
Oh, cool. Who did they cover?
I can't remember. I was so distressed.
Okay. Excellent.
I have notes on it, and most of my notes are, sound guy is awful. This is the worst sound guy in the city.
Did you happen to catch his name?
No, I don't want to know anything about him.
Oh, good.
I would prefer... If this is the worst sound I ever experienced in my life, I will have a good life.
Hmm.
And, God willing, this is the worst I'm ever going to hear. Because it was so bad.
I take that as a challenge.
Oh, no. Don't.
Tune in to episode 5.
We just have a whole bunch of cats screaming into microphones.
Oh, I wrote down here.
It'll be a special on Yoko Ono.
Tip 1. Sound checks. Do them.
Next week I'll be
You
discussing.
you
the
really
importance of sound
elaborated.
checks.
Oh, yeah, I wrote down here. Sound guy figured it out. And then immediately after, this is the worst sound guy in the city. So that, I think, was the second tune of the second set. But yeah, anyway, Slick 68s, I have no idea how they sounded. Probably okay. If you like rock and roll, it looked like that they would be your thing.
Hmm.
Catch them again, I don't know when, because they are in writing right now.
Facebook
so-
presence at all?
Yeah, you can go on to Facebook, look them up. They're called the Slick 68s.
You know, I'm going to pull it up now, see if they have any shows planned.
They don't. I had an interview with them. I talked to them. They don't.
All right, cool. Never mind. I won't do that. Thank you, Chris.
Cool guys, though. Chill guys.
Yeah.
Fun to talk to. A little bit eccentric, but, that's what rock and roll does to you. So.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yep.
That sounded like an experience.
Yeah. I was sad. I was really sad. I was really hoping that people playing at Barlow was going to be a good thing, and that it would help bring the community even closer together. Barlow is kind of the heart of the car scene in Calgary, right? So this had real potential to be a part of that and to bring music and a different aspect of culture into the car culture of the city.
Yeah.
And that really excited me as a prospect. That was so exciting. I thought that was really going to help bridge the divide that we really have in the city about art and, you know, suburbia, like we talked about. And instead, one person got in the way of that. One person who had no idea what they were doing and were totally indifferent, and they ruined it.
Yeah. That sucks.
Yeah.
But you know what? I mean, if they'll let the sound continue there, if they'll let bands continue playing there, I see that as a great opportunity. Not even just for the all ages aspect of it, but for the music scene in Calgary in general. That'd be great.
I think it's a great idea, but it's going to have to wait a few months now, if not a year or two, because everybody's going to remember how bad that was. That guy, without knowing what he was doing, seriously ruined music for that place.
Unless you can get like Micah Ehrenberg in there next week or someone of that caliber.
I see the only way of working out is if a DJ comes and sets up.
Okay.
And he sets up in a different part of the parking lot with different people. Then, okay, you know, maybe this is somebody else trying something different. And then we can start kind of collaborating and seeing what happens. But I don't think that's going to happen because of how terrible this was.
Yeah.
Like, I'm talking about how bad this was, and we're kind of smiling and laughing, but like deep down, I'm genuinely hurt. This person destroyed any prospect of music being played here, and really ruined something that was really precious and had just everything going for it. One guy, one totally unprepared, untrained. I don't know if I have any other words that I could use for him. He was just not a sound guy, and he has no ability to be.
Onto a more friendly note. What I'm sure you can take away from that is, if you have a good sound man, treat him well. They are rare.
Yes.
Just go out and spend the money.
Yeah. Make sure you get a good one, because it'll ruin your gig.
And it just changes everything. Not just your gig. Because it's about everybody else, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not about the person on stage. And if somebody on stage thinks it's about them, screw them. They have no idea.
Yep.
And if the sound guy thinks that it's all about them, then really, really screw them. Good sound guy doesn't think that it's all about them. Good sound guys are hard to find, and they'll, you know, they know that, so they want you to pay them.
Yep.
Which is okay, because good musicians are hard to find, and they want to be paid too.
Yep.
But paying these people is a good thing.
Yep.
And, oh my goodness. Okay, yeah. I'm starting to get flustered.
Well,
I'm going to back off.
All right.
One of the things that will also make it, like, even if it had gone well, another thing that makes it hard is that people aren't going to pay for it. There's no way to stop people from watching it, you know? So putting all that money in has to come out of pocket from whoever's setting it up. And that is difficult to most people, especially musicians, most of the time.
No, you're right. I was talking, I don't know if I was talking to somebody, but I think I might have overheard that the sound guy had told these guys that he had done over 100 shows.
Only 100 shows.
So I think he conned them into it. Like the way it sounded and the way it was, I just don't see it being any other way. I don't think people are that dumb. You know? Like, you hear something bad going on when you're playing on stage.
Yell at the sound man. Well, hold on. Depends on the sound man. If it's a good sound man, politely be like, can you change that?
Then if he gives you the eye and you know he's a good sound guy, it's probably your fault, and you know there's probably something else going on. But seriously, like, this guy didn't even spend time listening to the music. He had a beer in his hand the entire time, just walking around. There was cracking and feedback going on for half of the set, and he wasn't even near the band. He wasn't even near the sound booth. There wasn't even a sound booth. There was just like the sound board behind the stage. Soundboard was behind the stage. Yeah. Which, okay, if you have cables and like limited constrictions and that, okay. But the sound guy walked away to go check out cars and then didn't come back. You could hear that sound system from blocks away.
Yeah.
And the guy just didn't give a shit.
That's nice.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Wilson.
Let's
Wilson.
move on to something less depressing. Okay, I got a list of shows that I've gone to in the last 2 weeks. So I'll just go through them in sequential order. Right after we recorded episode 3, I went and saw I'm the Mountain and Peach Pit at the Night Owl, which I actually forgot to talk about last week, but nobody heard it anyways, so here I am.
Like you like a hurricane.
And there was a couple other bands too, but I showed up kind of late because we were recording, and then I went down there. Peach Pit is a band from Vancouver, and they were really good. They were just like a kind of sunny rock band, like something that you put on and grab an iced tea and sit in your backyard.
So Sade. Sorry, continue.
No.
Okay, fine. Just me then.
But yeah, it was like a just pretty chill gig. It was nice. And then I'm the Mountain went up, and I hadn't seen them for literally about 5 years. And they are an entirely different band, different genre, all different guys except for one guy that's like the singer, main writer.
Told you.
Yeah. And they were pretty good. Chris had hyped me up on them for a long time, so I feel like I was destined to be a little bit disappointed because it's like, oh, you gotta go see them, they're so good. You gotta go see them, they're so good. And you hear that for like literally 3 years, and it's like, wow, this is gonna be an amazing experience. And it was like, that was good.
It's good.
Yeah. They did a cover of, what was it? It was a Cher song. And I thought that was awesome.
Do you believe in love?
Yes, it was that actually.
Hey.
Yeah. And I was like, this is an awesome song to pick as a cover. But yeah, it was a solid show. I hadn't been to Night Owl in quite a while.
Were they in the library?
Yeah, the downstairs. I actually like that better than the upstairs.
Yeah.
Upstairs is I like the stage of the upstairs. It's just in a weird spot in the room.
The whole thing
Yeah.
is kind of...
Yeah, it's just funky.
Yeah, it's kind of disjointed. The
Yeah.
downstairs is a little more cozy, which obviously means it doesn't fit as many people, so they usually put the bigger shows upstairs, which, like, it all makes sense. But I just like the downstairs more. But yeah, it was solid.
Good.
One really weird thing was the guitarist of Peach Pit had the same briefcase as me to hold his pedal board, and it's my grandpa's briefcase. So he like must have either got it at some used store, or like his family member also had the same briefcase. But it's like this 50-year-old briefcase that I put all my pedals inside, and he had the same briefcase.
Joke's on you. It is the same briefcase.
Oh my God.
Have you seen your pedal board recently?
It's a good thing he gave me all those new pedals. So then, we had Sled Island, which we kind of talked about last week, but obviously you didn't hear that. So Thursday was Beetroot BC Cotton Candy, and Peach Pyramid was playing. Jen, who played bass in Wendigo for a while, it's her band, and Brett and Jordan from Ashley Underwood were playing with her, and a couple other guys that live in Victoria. And that was an awesome show. Peach Pyramid is great. They're actually kind of similar in tone to what Peach Pit was. So there you go. Synergy. Brand synergy. Peach synergy.
That sounds like an amazing flavor of soft drink.
Peach Synergy.
Page synergy.
That's
I like
gonna
it.
that has got to be the super group that they create.
I'm down.
So yeah, that was a nice show. Jen is an awesome vocalist, and the whole band is pretty tight. It's just like a nice time. And then out back from that was Unblonde, which was like a free jazz show, which was very strange, but it was enjoyable. And then Saturday afternoon, Mike Ehrenberg, Broken City. Chris and I were both there. Yeah. And that was an awesome show. As Chris said last week, and he can say now if he'd like.
It was good.
Yeah.
Thank you
was.
for the review, Christopher.
Well, you were saying that you didn't think it was quite as good as the other shows we've seen, which I would agree with. Because they
Again, a
had
sound issue. Sorry.
yeah, well, it wasn't sound issues like Chris was talking about today, but
The
there
sound guy
was
was Jesus compared to the guy that I heard on Friday.
well, the problem at Broken City was there was technical issues, but they needed to start the set, and the sound guy worked out the technical issues as the set went on.
Gotcha. Okay.
That guy
He's a good sound guy.
is a hero in my eyes after what I saw on Friday.
You know how a fader works. You haven't just taped them all up to 12.
It was good though. Those guys were good. Again, all the time.
Yeah, it was a solid show. And then this past Monday, I went to the Ironwood and I saw Zachary Lucky, his trio, and I saw Richard Inman, his trio, and then it became 4-piece when Micah went up a few songs into the set. Micah played bass with him.
Nice. The quadrio. The Richard Inman
The quadrilogy. The alien quadrilogy. So, Zachary Lucky I had never seen before, and he was really good. He's like super down-to-earth country guy. But so is Richard, so it was a really good pairing.
He, too, stuck with his roots, subdominance and dominance. And I imagine he also threw in a third every now and then.
Probably. Maybe 2s and 6s once in a while. Do some 2-6-5-1s.
Ooh.
Who knows?
Well, this
I
guy lives
wasn't
on the
paying.
edge.
I wasn't paying that much attention to how the chord progressions were going on. I was just listening to the music and the stories.
You mean you can't tell me the inversions? You can't tell me that every time they went to a 5, if they were doing a 5 or 5-7 or a 5-6-5 or a 5-6 or a 5-4-3 or a 5-4-2?
If I had brought a pen and paper, I probably could have tracked it all out if you wanted me to, but
Never been
That's
more
what we
disappointed.
expected of you, Wilson.
I know. I've been doing it for every other show, right? So why
Oh,
wouldn't I
come
do
on,
it for
man.
this one?
All your notes are right here.
But yeah, I had a nice rhinestone cowboy from Big Rock and a bowl of chili at the Ironwood and listened to country music and talked to my friend Carter Felker, who was there at the show. And yeah, it was good. Richard went up, and like I've said before, he's more of that somber, kind of in the style of like Townes Van Sant and that kind of guy. But he was really good. He had actually forgotten all of his merch in Champion, Alberta the night before, so he didn't have any to sell, which was a bummer. But the show was really good, and it was great to see Micah, and I met Richard finally officially, and most of his band, and they were all really nice and hung around, and it was a good time.
How's Micah on bass with them?
Good. He knows how to sit in the pocket. He's not making it about him ever.
You can hear that in the music that he writes, too. That he just knows how
Yeah.
that's supposed to work.
Yeah, he had a cool bass too. It was like a some kind of double cut something. Like it almost looked like a Starcaster Fender, but it was not a Fender. But that kind of body shape, like the kind of wider like almost Ricky shape. But it wasn't a Rickenbacker either. It was cool. And then, yeah, the first few songs, it was just the trio. So the drummer was playing electric guitar, and their electric guitarist was playing lap steel. And he played lap steel for a few songs later on, too. But then the drummer played drums, Micah played bass, and the other guitarist played electric guitar.
Nice.
For most of the rest of the show. But yeah.
Right on. Were they blending well? What was
Yeah.
the sound like? What
Well,
grabbed your
Ironwood
attention?
is like awesome for sound. So,
Mm.
well, I mean, we saw them up in Red Deer, and I would say the sound was pretty similar up there, because it's the same drummer. He's the guy that tours with Richard, and then the only difference was Micah played like lead guitar, and his bassist played bass instead of the other way around. But yeah, it's kind of all about the vocals and the story. Like it's that storytelling songwriting. It's not about the solos or anything. It's all about getting a story across. It's trying to work out your life by writing a song about it.
Yeah, which is really interesting considering how Micah Ehrenberg is. And not like him himself, but how his band is. Because my favorite parts of their live show is when they get to the solos and how the solos interact with the music and how they interact with everybody through the solos. It's cool to see Micah be a part of something that, you know, he very much understands where the music's supposed to go, but it's in a separate vein.
Mm.
For sure.
Those are my favorite musicians. The ones that can just sit in with a group and add to it. Like
Well, and actually Micah like joined up with Richard and finished up his tour. They were playing in Toronto
cool.
last night and tonight, I think. And then they're back to Manitoba from Toronto, slowly meandering their way back.
That'd be cool.
They wrote together, didn't they?
I'm not totally sure. I think they've kind of always played very closely. I don't know if they write together, but it's possible.
Interesting.
Yeah, you should go see Micah, and you should also go see Richard and Matt.
No, I know I need to. I really know I need to. You guys have been.
I'm pretty
mentioning it for a while.
sure. I'm pretty sure Richard is back for Widecoat Weekend, which is in October.
Okay.
Plenty of time to prep.
I'm okay with that. We can just take the show on the road to them. Just 3 microphones in the back of a van. Oh, we're gonna do that for the eclipse, anyways. So
Yeah.
we can make it a tour.
We can tour to Arco, Idaho.
Oh, that's gonna be. That's a checklist right there. Not the eclipse, but going to Arco.
I'm not seeing a total solar eclipse.
Oh no! I just want to go to Arco. Arco.
Who doesn't?
Hello.
Yay.
Yay! Life goals accomplished. Cool.
You're up,
All right, and you actually
champion.
champion forger. Is that it? Champion ironsmith.
Look at that.
What has happened to Christopher's arm? Does he have?
Chris has a
he's
watch
got-
tan.
Oh, Chris has the world's
Oh.
most beautiful watch tan.
This isn't a watch tan. This is a watch burn.
Oh, it's a
I
watch
am-
burn.
I am lobster red on my arms.
Mm.
I
Oh,
was
I thought that was
sitting-
your sleeves.
Nope, only half.
Oh, wow.
I was sitting out in the sun all day watching a baseball game.
Mm.
The team that I was cheering for got like totally blown
Might
out
I
too.
assume by the shirt that you're wearing that it was the dogs?
Yeah. I think the final score was 17-6.
That's not
Ouch.
terrible.
Each
I've seen.
each team threw 2 scoreless innings.
Ooh.
That's still better than how the Blue Jays did today.
Yeah, I was
though.
about to say that's.
Yeah.
Remember, I'm from Toronto. I've seen worse. What was the score today for the Jays?
They lost 15-1 to the Red Sox.
I think I might actually develop an ulcer from that news.
Why? You didn't even like it wasn't even important to you
It wasn't,
until
but it is now. It is part of my heritage. And
They
I've been
al-
learning about my Canadian heritage.
They also got swept by Boston over the weekend. They lost all
Oh, that's
3
nice.
games.
Did they clean up the field?
Yeah.
Oh, no. Wrong sweeping. I'm sorry. I thought Boston was just being...
These snaps are for you.
Oh, it's almost as good as jazz hands. For all you hearing the lovely snacking noises at home, that is the onion rings.
I
that
brought onion rings from
Sweet
Peter's.
Milky Wilson was kind enough to bring. May I?
Huh? Go for it.
Shall we all just consume onion rings at the same time?
I've been eating them for...
Nice watch tan you looked at.
Yep.
Okay. Let me just enjoy one of these. Alright. So.
I'm gonna leave this in.
Conveniently, the subject that you ended on prior to baseball blends nicely into mine.
So I'll cut the baseball conversation and it'll work
This'll
perfectly.
work perfectly. We weren't talking about baseball before this cut. So, you were saying that a lot of the writing that was going on was very very genuine, heartfelt writing of music. In contrast to how Micah writes, where it's about using the instrumentation as a large part of the song. You were saying that the writing you were listening to is very much like trying to figure out your life by writing a song.
Yeah, it was definitely a lot less about the instrumentation.
Yeah. Which is actually, that's the type of writing that I love, and it's the music that I actually connect with the best. For all my love of like studio writing and like my appreciation for pop music, like some of my favorite music to connect to is when you can tell someone's being incredibly raw, and I love that. And I also love the intense instrumentation, though I haven't heard it, but the intentional instrumentation that I'm sure that Micah puts into his writing, making it all about making the music blend well. Those things stand very, very much in contrast to the type of writing that I'm going to be bringing up today. I'm going to be asking your opinions on.
Oh, yay.
Oh, I know.
Opinion time.
If you're gonna
Opinion
be
time.
asking me about what I think of modern bands, I'm not gonna know like any of them.
Oh, no. Not about modern bands.
Who's 21 Pilots?
Oh, Chris,
See,
have you listened to Vessels yet?
No, I listened to...
You
We've
listened to
been over
Heathens.
this.
Don't
I've listened to Heathens. I'm not listening to anything else.
I still don't know who they are.
Oh,
Maybe
gosh.
I'll listen to them someday.
Maybe you should.
I listen to bands no one's ever heard of.
Go listen to Vessels by 21 Pilots. It's an amazing album. Let's appreciate that. You know, I'm getting flustered here. Okay, so
Did Chris bring up the sound guy again?
Chris brought up the sound guy again. All right. So I was having a conversation with a friend the other day, and they brought up that they didn't respect artists who didn't do their own writing. So modern day pop artists, they're like, oh, you know what? They're actually talking about Drake, and I'm not a huge Drake fan. Let it be known. I don't think he's got a nice voice. I don't think he's a very good songwriter. I don't know what the massive hype about him is. I really don't.
The only song I've heard by him is Hotline Bling.
Hotline Bling. YOLO. You know YOLO. You only live once. That is the motto.
But
YOLO.
I've never heard that before in my life.
Oh,
I
very good.
didn't even know he had a song called YOLO.
The only version of Hotline Bling that you've heard.
Is the Wii Shop remix? Yeah,
Oh,
I
okay.
haven't heard the real version.
All right.
So you can hear how in touch I am with
Popular.
modern popular music.
That's completely okay. That's completely okay. I was reading an article about Drake the other day and just going through the comments on it. Someone was like, oh, Drake has a ghostwriter. He's not a real artist. Like, he's not any good at what he does. And that just got me to thinking. Most modern pop artists don't write their own music.
I wouldn't say modern even.
Yeah.
Like, well, you look at guys like Burt Bacharach in the 60s, and they were writing all the songs for Tom Jones and Dionne Warwick. And
Yeah.
Like, who's going to argue that Tom Jones isn't great?
No, absolutely.
But he didn't write that many of his songs,
Yeah.
if any.
So
The Monkees didn't write any of their music.
The Archies.
So the question that I'm going to put forth, and I think I already know your answers to this, is does being a good singer and a good artist mean you have to write your own music? Because the truth is, most popular music nowadays is written by teams of people. And that is in part because they want to make it commercially successful. So they want to get really good songs, hooks in 30 seconds, something really just earworm catchy. But if you're a singer who doesn't write their own music, even if you're the best singer, does it make you any less of a musician?
I have a really good answer to this.
Chris, please.
Have you ever listened to a musical? Of any kind?
Yes, indeed, I have.
Yeah, I think this is what you're alluding to. And I think musicals are a really good example of how you don't have to be a good composer to be a good musician.
Absolutely.
I went and saw...
Don't say Cats.
Next to Normal.
Okay.
Which, the other day or the other week at an amateur company called Cappuccino was doing it down in the Vertigo Playroom.
Mm.
And it was, oh my God, it was so good, guys. It's a Broadway musical. And it was a hit on Broadway, I think, in 2009 or something like that. So 8 years ago. Let that sink in. Jesus. It's really cool. I mean, it is basic music, but when you're listening to a Broadway musical, you're not expecting something incredibly intricate. Because they're trying to get points across, and the music is just, it's there for a couple minutes, and then we have something else. And
Well,
there for a couple
it's
minutes.
storytelling.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
In Next to Normal, there's this real rock element to it, which is really cool. There is an electric guitar, an acoustic guitar, a drum set, a keyboard, a bass, cello, and I think that's it. I think that's all the instruments for the entire musical.
Mm-hmm.
And oh my God, are the songs good. There's a song called Superboy and the Invisible Girl, and it just, it's gut-wrenching, and I'm getting goosebumps even thinking about it.
Yeah.
If you listen to a version of it from Broadway, and then you go see it live, you might see that the singers and the performers that you've seen live, even at the amateur show that I saw, I liked them more than I liked some of the performers that I saw in a Broadway version.
Really?
Yeah. So who's better? Who's the better musician? Who's the better singer? The person on Broadway or...
And in most of the Broadway ones, the people that are in the musical aren't the ones that wrote it.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, and that's what I mean.
Like, Andrew Lloyd Webber isn't going up on stage and singing those songs.
No.
You will curse the day you did not do
Yeah,
all the composer asked of you. Anyway. Hey, Phantom of the Opera.
I love it. Okay, and that's a weird standard that I see in modern music, is if someone who is the singer is not also the writer of the music, or even a member of the band is not a writer of the music, because, I mean, Neil Peart wrote loads of lyrics for Rush.
Almost all of them.
Yeah. If a member of the band isn't one of the lyric writers, they're automatically looked down on as, like, being sellouts and being fake. I mean, I have immense respect for artists who are able to write their own music and perform the music. Beck is an amazing example of this.
But he should give up his Grammy and give it to Beyonce.
He should give up his Grammy and give it to
so
Beyonce.
that he can show how much artistry or he should admire true artistry or something.
Yeah, something like that. But Taylor Swift should also give up her video award to Beyonce anyways. She had the best music video of the year.
All time.
All time.
All time. Oh, dang it, man. But yeah, it's just a weird double standard that I've encountered.
Well, the thing is, like, they're different things. So if somebody's going like, man, like, this person has the best songs. I love all of their songs. And it's like, well, it's like, especially if they're talking about instrumental stuff, it's like, you don't necessarily like that band. You like whoever wrote it for them.
I.e. Bob Dylan.
Absolutely. All right.
But no, that's the other way around for you, because you don't like Bob Dylan, but when other people do his songs, you like them.
Yeah.
That's kind of going the other way. But yeah, if it's like, oh, like, I love the lyrics in this song, whatever, and it's like you're listening to a cover, maybe you should check out the original.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
And stuff like that. But yeah, it's just like people don't actually look at who's behind the songs sometimes, and they're praising the wrong person in some cases.
Yep.
So I can kind of see some people being like, oh, well, they didn't even write that. And it comes off as really flippant, and it kind of is a lot of the time, too. Sometimes people need to hear that because it's like, Santana is such a good writer. Black Magic Woman is amazing. And it's like, Peter Green wrote that song. It's a Fleetwood Mac song. His version's amazing, but he didn't write it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think a big problem today, or when people see that, oh, they were just a team of writers, is they know that the music industry is a business, right? And they know that that team of writers is being hired to write that 30-second hook and to pump out that music. Whereas, you know, the two guys who wrote all of Next to Normal, they took their time. You know, again, I'm not saying that it's the greatest masterpiece ever written, but there's a difference there, right?
Yeah.
A lot of the musicals that you hear also, they sound really similar, but that also doesn't really matter because it's the story.
Yeah.
But a 3-minute song, I mean, how much of a story can you tell in a 3-minute song when you have 7 people writing the lyrics and 12 people writing the 3 instruments that are going to be in it, and, you know, your 5-person production team and this, that, and the other thing, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So I think, yeah, a good musician isn't necessarily defined by their composition capabilities at all. But it also kind of depends on the stage that they're putting themselves on.
Yep. And you know what? I completely agree with that. I mean, if I see someone who goes and produces and writes an amazing song by themselves, or even with a small team of like 2 people, I mean, for just like Paul Simon, for example, like 50 Ways. I love that song. I also love that song because it has an amazing, iconic drum groove. But Paul Simon's just incredible. He's an incredible songwriter. I have so much respect for that. But he's kind of like an exception to the rule. The basic assumption that a real musician writes everything on their own or does everything on their own is, well, incorrect.
Yeah.
Well, I think one of the things is if somebody's like they're just some hired pop face singer and it's like auto-tuned.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, this person's such a good musician.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, they didn't write the song. They're not necessarily singing in key. Like, you wouldn't really know unless you saw them live.
Yep.
And even then, with modern technology.
Yeah, even then,
Yep.
they might be lip syncing or something. They might be Milli Vanilli. It's just some people are using the wrong word to describe the thing that they like.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's fine to like whatever auto-tuned pop face singer, Justin Bieber, whoever, if you want to like that. But that doesn't necessarily make them a good musician.
Absolutely.
Just because you like something doesn't mean it's good.
Yes.
Yeah. I will be the first to admit that with many movies that I hold very dear to my heart.
Samurai Cop 2.
The first one, even more. The first Samurai Cop, if you haven't seen it, is one of the greatest film experiences of all time.
And this is why I love Star Wars Christmas Special, because it's amazing, but it's bad. So no, what does, the 2 things that bug me on this whole conversation are when one person will be like, "Oh my gosh, I love Rihanna so much. Her songs just touch my soul."
Wow, you're stereotyping. Who would talk like that?
Basic white girls.
Are you racist?
This is the racism podcast.
Yeah, apparently. Oh my gosh, I love Rihanna so much. Her songs just touch my soul when she sings about single ladies. She is an artist.
Isn't that Beyonce?
Is it Beyonce? Is Beyonce?
All the single ladies.
I am sure that Rihanna sings about single ladies.
She probably does. That's what I
but-
meant. Why would you assume I was talking about the song Single Ladies?
I don't know.
Yeah. Anyways, when she sings about umbrellas, it just touches my soul. And
Hey.
okay, all right. This is a quintessential version of this. The song Despacito. If you guys heard it, that's like the big thing on pop radio right now. Don't. Yeah, you probably haven't. It's this.
I've heard Desaparecidos, which is a cool old, like, post-hardcore band from 2006.
I've heard Desperado by the Eagles.
That's our song.
No, don't play it.
I'm not gonna play it. Okay. Despacito was this really was this initially really popular song down in South America by a guy named Luis Fonsi. Okay, it is incredibly poppy, so it is the super pop formula. It's all in Spanish, but it is a really cool, catchy song. Okay, Justin Bieber comes along, takes it, literally mutes the first verse, sings something over it, which isn't even that good. Okay, like what I don't even remember what he sings, and I've heard it a bunch of times. And then just kind of like sings some of the main lines in Spanish. Like just literally all he did was mute the lead singer for a line, sing it in Spanish, then unmute him and let him sing the rest of the lines. And then released it as Despacito, Justin Bieber featuring Luis Fonsi. When literally all he did was take the track that was fully done. He did nothing else to it. Click mute. La 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 something in Spanish. La 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 la. Unmute. Rest of the song, and then like mutes the last line of the song and sings it himself in Spanish, and then unmutes it, and then everyone went wild. It is blown up to be one of the biggest songs of the summer, and everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, Justin Bieber is so amazing. His song Despacito is incredible." It's like, no, Bieber put in like 15 minutes of work, maybe 2 hours of work because he had to sit down with a Spanish coach to make sure he pronounced the words right. And no offense to Bieber, like great business work there, dude. Like you made a lot of money off of 2 hours of work.
Well, that's assuming that he's the one who had the idea.
Yes,
to do
exactly.
Business. You can't call him a good businessman.
I can't call him a good business. Well sung.
I mean, it could have been in key. We don't know
We don't
because
know.
he could have.
We're gonna give him the benefit of the doubt, and he's been doing this for a while. He's got to be at least decent at holding key now.
You never know.
I'm just giving him the benefit of the doubt.
Hey, Mick Jagger had been singing for a long time.
That's a good point. But and everyone's like, "Oh my
But
gosh,
the
Justin
Stones
Bieber
are like
is so amazing."
bad on purpose, which is why the Stones are great.
Okay.
Oh gosh, yeah. I had a friend who went to a Stones concert, and like the lead guitarist, every time there was a solo, he just backed off, and another guy came in and soloed for him.
Keith Richards is his
Yeah,
name.
Keith Richards. Yeah, I knew that.
Keith Richards is a good guitarist. He's just really lazy because he doesn't give a shit
I thought
about the Stones.
he's been dead since 1980, hasn't he?
Every time you smoke a cigarette, you take 10 seconds from your life and add 10 seconds to Keith Richards' life.
Okay. So, anyways, that's my rant.
Remember Uptown Funk?
Mm.
Mark Ronson song. I remember it came out, and
Everyone
a buddy
was
of mine was like, "Oh, have you heard that new Bruno Mars song?" I'm like,
That was me, wasn't it?
"What? What do you? No, it wasn't you.
Oh, wasn't me.
No." I was like, like, I don't listen to Bruno Mars. And he's like, and they're like, "Yeah, you gotta listen to this." And they just play Uptown Funk. It's like, no, this is a Mark Ronson song. I don't necessarily like Mark Ronson to begin with, but yes, I have absolutely heard Uptown Funk. Thank you very much. It's a funk song that made it into pop somehow. Oh, pardon me. The way it did it was by putting Bruno Mars into it.
Yep.
What? Name another track off that album.
Ta-da! Nope. So no, I'm right there. So moral of the story is, group songwriting is not bad. Like, don't look down on an artist because they have a team of songwriters. That's just actually how the industry's been for long periods of time. You have composers and you have people who perform.
I would just find it hard to call those people artists at a certain point, you know?
Well, but would you call a professional violinist who plays in an orchestra an artist? They're interpreting the music.
I don't know. It depends.
Yeah. Okay.
How much interpretation is going on in those cases, though?
And how much, there's a lot of lead interpretation because really it's the conductor.
Yep.
You have to learn the notes and you have to get the notes under your fingers. But you have to be a great violinist, right? Whereas the conductor has to be a great conductor, and part of being a great conductor is being able to interpret and see how it works and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas a solo violinist, I will give that to you because a solo violinist is different.
Absolutely.
Or a solo pianist or whatever.
All right, then don't look down on a singer necessarily because they have a team of writers. If the music is still good, then it's still good music. It doesn't. You don't have. But
it just means that, like, the credit's not necessarily going to go to that person.
Yes, and so the other side of my point was, but then don't turn around and be like, "Oh my gosh, this person is the best person ever. Their songs are incredible. They are an artist. They're great." When you look at their credit list and it's like this artist, this writer. Give credit to the writers. If it's a really well done, emotional, excellent piece, give credit to the writers.
The person whose album it is, they might not have even been the person who sang the songs on the record.
Yep.
It's just a name at this point.
Mm.
This is why this is why I don't listen to pop music, man.
I get you.
It's because I want to hear interesting compositions. I got really tired a long time ago of hearing, root 3, 5, 4.
And Wilson, join in.
We'll auto-tune it later.
We'll fix it in post.
This is good.
This is where you edit. This is where you edit in like a really perfectly edited EDM track. Yeah, this is what happens when we auto-tune. But yeah, that's all I wanted to talk about today.
Cool.
Mm.
Thanks, everybody. This has been Bad Conductors number 5. I can count this time, but you guys didn't know that I couldn't count last time.
Number 45.
Special.
I have been Hot Chris Carnduff. To my left has been
Wilson.
Sweet Milky.
MacDonald.
Sweet Milky Wilson. Go ahead.
And I am Champion Forger. Champion Forger? Was that it? A Champion Forger, Brayden Clark.
Brayden,
He's
champion forger.
Yeah, he won.
Clark.
There you go.
Number 1.
Still number 1.
Still number 1.
See you next week for Bad Conductors number 6, unless we have technical issues again, in which case, I don't know when we'll see you again.
Yeah. Look at us.
Okay, bye.